What's up, 360? Welcome to Monday and a brand new week of Covideo Devos. We're going to continue to jump into the book of Hebrews this week and look at chapter 6, starting at verse 13 and jumping all the way through verse 20. So I'm going to read a little bit from that, and if you want to follow along, that's awesome. If not, you can just listen. Thanks to everybody who joined last night at 360 Zoom. Been encouraging to see just all the people jumping on. So, but we're going to read Hebrews and chapter 6, verse 13. For example, there was God's promise to Abraham. Since there is no one greater to swear by God, God took an oath in his own name, saying, I will certainly bless you, and I will multiply your descendants beyond number. So the author of Hebrews is jumping to this section here where he is essentially making an argument for the trustworthiness of God's promise, God's promised hope that he has instilled in everyone through Jesus. And he's given the example of Abraham. And he says this, then Abraham waited patiently and he received what God had promised. Now, when people take an oath, they call on someone greater than themselves to hold them to it. Without any question, the oath is binding. God also bound himself with an oath so that those who receive the promise could be perfectly sure that he would never change his mind. So it says that God made this oath, this promise, and the down payment for that is himself. There's nothing greater that God can promise on than on his own character and on his own nature. Because if he is not perfect truth and perfect reliability and dependability, then there is nothing, there's nothing else that is more dependable or more true than he is. It says, so God, verse 18, God has given both his promise and his oath. These two things are unchangeable because it is impossible for God to lie. Therefore, we who have fled to him for refuge can have great confidence as we hold to the hope that lies before us. What is the hope that lies before us? The hope is in restoration, in new creation, the hope that our sins are forgiven, the hope that God is one day going to come back and set the world to rights, that God will never leave us, the hope that there's nothing that could separate us from God's love for us, the hope that that everything that he has promised is going to come true. Verse 19, this hope is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. It leads us through the curtain into God's inner sanctuary. Jesus has already gone in there for us and has become our eternal high priest in the order of Melchizedek. There again is the reference to Melchizedek, which we're not going to get into today. But essentially in the Jewish practice at that time, you had a high priest who would go in, who would first follow the laws to purify themselves, and then go in on behalf of you and behalf of the people in order to basically be a go-between between the people and God. And the author of Hebrews is saying Jesus in his life, his human life, and in his sacrifice has become our high priest, a perfect high priest who is continually, constantly representing God to us and us to God. He's the intermediary now and forevermore. And he says our confidence and our hope lies in him, and it's an anchor for our souls. So I don't know if you've ever been rock climbing before, if you've been on an expeditions trip with us, you have, but you know that when you go up and climb up on the rocks, that you are putting all your trust in that rope and in the security of that rope, and trusting that as you climb, if you slip or fall and you're 30 feet up, 40 feet up, that you will be caught by the rope. And of course, the person that's holding the rope, the belayer, but you have faith and confidence in that rope, and your security, your fear, your ability to move forward and to climb all depends on how much you trust that rope is going to hold on to you. If you had a doubt, a strong doubt, like, hey, I'm 99% sure that this rope is not going to hold me, you probably wouldn't take the climb, unless you're kind of crazy or super confident in your climbing skills. But the author of Hebrews wants us to know that our hope is anchored in something secure and solid, and that Jesus will come through, and that God will come through in his promises, that everything will be restored, everything will be made new. So obviously the author of Hebrews knew that there were going to be some storms that we were going to be going through, that we were going to need an anchor for our souls, that we we're going to need that encouragement. So be confident today that the trustworthiness of God lies in his character, that this hope that we have in his promise and his oath is like an anchor for our souls, that we know that Jesus is there to represent us to God, that through him all of the promises that he has promised us and is bringing to us, the ones that we experience both now and the salvation that we experience in the future, are guaranteed. They're anchors for our soul. So be blessed by that. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll continue working our way through this book and just highlighting some different things that I find interesting and encouraging. Love you guys. Hope you're having a safe and fun quarantine Monday. Enjoy. We'll talk to you later.